class. As I promised, I have brought your questions to see the frontier legend, David Crockett, and see what he has to say about what you've asked. So, without further ado, here is Colonel Davy Crockett of Tennessee.
My name is Davy Crockett. I'm half horse, half alligator with a little bit of the snapping turtle thrown in for spice. I got the fastest horse, the meanest dog, and the prettiest sister in all of Tennessee. My paw can whip any man in Tennessee, and I can whip my paw. I can leap the Mississippi, and I rode Haley's Comet. But actually, that there is the legend or the myth behind Davy Crockett. In reality, I'm David Crockett, Esquire, former congressman from the state of Tennessee, former Indian scout, magistrate, and what you all would call a defender of the Alamo. And the reason why I'm here this morning is to answer some questions and get it right. See, over the years, a lot of things have been said about me. Well, in fact, even when I was running around back in the 19th century, there was a lot of things said about me that I let them say. Weren't exactly true, none, but at least it built up my image. And I had a great image, if you think about it. I was what y'all call a rock star in popularity, or the things that was said about me when I could leap the Mississippi or ride Haley's Comet or break daylight with a rock. I was what you might call a superhero in my day. But I'm here to answer questions to separate the man, David, from Davy, the king of the wild frontier. Now, to begin with, I never, ever called myself Davy. I preferred David, my given name. So, y'all have something to ask me? Go ahead and ask, folks.
Well, thank you for coming, Colonel Crockett. Well, you're welcome, sir. We'll take a look at the questions students have here. All right, our first question comes from Peyton. And Peyton wants to know, how hard was it being a pioneer?
Let me tell you, I was born not on a mountaintop, but in a one-room log cabin on the banks of the Nolichucky River in what is now Greene County, Tennessee. One room. I was born 7 of 9 children. We're all in that one room. If you wanted to eat, you couldn't run down to no Brookshire's or a Walmart. You had to go out and either grow or kill what you wanted to eat. Disease ran rampant. Folks died young. Engines would come out of the woods sometimes. It was not an easy life. You had to really be dedicated to wanting to carve out a life on the frontier. We didn't have any of the amenities that you all enjoy today, especially minor things that y'all take for granted, like electricity. When the sun went down, we had candles, and we couldn't see past them. And we went to bed early, got up at dawn, to bed at dark. So if y'all have these wonderful ideas of it might have been a wonderful life on the frontier, if you weren't used to it, it wouldn't.
All right, another question they have is, did you have a dog?
I've had dogs all my life. You see, y'all have dogs primarily as pets. We had dogs as tools, helpers, hunting dogs, watchdogs. The dogs kept us safe from varmints because they could smell and hear them. They kept us safe from snakes. They helped me track down bears all through my career. So I had a bunch of dogs.
All right, what about kids? Luca wants to know, did you have any kids?
Did I have any kids? Well, I'll tell you. I was married twice. My first wife, the love of my life, Polly, she gave me 3. She gave me 2 boys and a girl. Well, unfortunately, she passed away in 1815, and I was left with 3 kids. So I married the widow Elizabeth Patton, and she had 3 kids of her own. So that was 6, and then we had 2 kids together. So we had a grand total of 8 kids. That's 8 mouths to feed. So I had to keep myself pretty busy.
All right. Patrick wants to know, were you well educated?
No, not at all. I was, what you call a self-educated man. I went to school only one day when I was a young boy. Got in a fight that day and wouldn't come back. In fact, I run off from home after that fight because my pa would have stomped me into the ground when he found out about that. So I learned everything from some of my employers taught me how to read, decipher, and to write a little bit. And by the time I got to Congress, I had proved my oratory skills where I could stand up and speechify with the best of them.
Levi wants to know, what was your favorite weapon? And what is the biggest animal you ever killed?
My favorite weapon would have been this. A flintlock rifle. Named her Old Betsy. I could load that thing and fire it in less than a minute. I killed many a bear with this here rifle, and the biggest critter I ever killed was a bear. And let me tell you this here story. I was out bear hunting one day, and my dog started barking, and I saw the trees are rumbling, and I looked out, and there's a great big old grizzly. This bear was at least 12 foot tall when he stood up on his hind legs. Can you imagine that? 12 foot tall. He's coming right at me. I pulled out my knife and first tried to cut at him. Didn't work. He was coming right after me. So I had to think of something quick. So I reached into my pocket and pulled out some licorice I was carrying to satisfy my sweet tooth. And I wrapped that there licorice around the barrel of Old Betsy. And I stuck that there gun in that bear's mouth. And I pulled that trigger. There's bear brains all over the trees. Y'all can figure out or not if you think I'm making that up or not. But bears is probably the biggest.
All right. Joshua asks, what is your kill streak?
Y'all in your video games. I killed a lot of bears. That's probably what my kill streak would have been. In fact, in one winter, I killed 100 bears using 99 bullets. Bears was real close together. I had this reputation for being a big engine fighter. I only fought in one battle during the Creek Engine War, and I did not like it at all. I did not like shooting other folks. If I had to, but I didn't like it. So I didn't enjoy killing folks. So my kill streak, as y'all put it, would have been against them bars.
All right, Ryan wants to know, what do you think of vegans?
I tell you this, when you're living in the woods, living on the frontier, and you need to eat, you'll eat whatever you can. Now, if you could learn from the Indians to eat berries and leaves or what have you, or you can go out and kill you some meat. So choosing what y'all call the vegan lifestyle was not a practical thing living in the woods on the frontier and being a pioneer. It's kind of silly, actually.
All right. Now, we always have several questions about your hat.
My hat.
Here are three of them.
Shoot.
Aiden wants to know, why did you wear that coonskin hat? Lily wants to know why you wore that hat and buckskin to Washington. And Adele wants to know if she can have that hat.
Well, to answer Adele, first of all, if you want one of these, you go out, you hunt you a coon. Trap you a coon in a trap, or you shoot you one, then you skin it, and they're hard to skin. You skin it, and you cure that pelt, and then you take that there skin and make you a hat. Real simple. Just takes a while. Why I wear it? Everybody thinks that I wore it ever since I was a little kid. That's not exactly true. I didn't start wearing the thing until around 18 and 31. Now that surprises folks, and I'll tell you why. Around that time, when my popularity was growing, there was a play written by a fellow named James Kirk Paulding called The Lion of the West. And it was a play about a pioneer engine fighter, hunter, named Nimrod Wildfire. Now, it was based on me. And the character wore an elaborate fur suit and a bobcat skin on his head. Well, a bobcat skin would just be impractical to wear. They're big. So I started wearing the coonskin hat in public because that's what folks expected of me. They expected me to wear that thing. And I never did wear it much because it's uncomfortable. And you ask, why did I take this outfit to Congress? I did not stand up in the halls of the United States Congress wearing this outfit, but I wore it there because, again, that's what people expected. When you're a certain character, people expect you to dress that way. So I used that to help move my image along. I wore suits and regular clothes when I was in Congress.
Okay, this one probably will build on the last couple of things you said. Sergio wants to know, what was your life actually like, and what were your lies?
It was a hard life. I can tell you that right now. Because if you wanted to live, you had to hunt your food. You had to build your own cabin to live in, and you had to pretty much take care of your own self. And if you had a family, you had to take care of them. That's why I hunted all the time, so I could feed my family. My lies. Well, I wouldn't exactly call them lies. I kind of stretched the truth some. And I let things be said about me that weren't, because it helped me remain in the public eye, like jumping the Mississippi or riding Haley's Comet, or what I said in the beginning about being a half alligator and half horse and so forth. I let those stories define me and build up my legend. Were they true? Give or take a lie or two? No, not really true in the sense that we call truth, but it helped move me along in the public eye.
Yeah, a little bit different type of question. Soha wants to know, who is your favorite person?
Polly Finley Crockett. I met her at about 18 and 8. I was young. And she was so pretty. She was beautiful. We fell in love right away, and we got married. I loved her with a passion that couldn't be matched. Unfortunately, I wasn't home very much. Now, yes, we had our children, but I was always off either hunting, or in 1813 I went off and volunteered to be in the Creek Engine War. I thought about her all the time, and I never, ever knew how much a heart could ache, how much a heart could break, until I heard that she died in 1815, left me with the 3 boys. But yeah, Polly was the love of my life and my best friend, and still, to this day, my favorite person.
All right, kind of the opposite question. Okay. Laney wants to know, did you have any enemies?
Did I have any enemies? Well, when you're in the Congress, you've got a boatload of enemies. My biggest was President Andrew Old Hickory Jackson. He was the general during the Creek War. But when we got to Washington, old King Andrew I wanted to do away with the United States Bank, and he wanted to remove all Indians, which he did with his Indian removal bill. That made us mortal enemies. The Native Americans were all gathered up, and they had to cross from their own native lands, where they'd lived forever, on up to Oklahoma to the Indian territories. Many of them died along the way. And that did not endear me to Old Hickory. Old Hickory was a tyrant and a dictator, my biggest enemy. And I was his. He made sure that I lost my last run for Congress.
That's probably a good point to move into this next question.
Right.
You weren't originally from Texas.
No.
Why did you decide to go to the Alamo?
Well, let me tell you. At that time, in the early 1800s, Texas was the place to go. As a buffer against the Comanches and the Apaches and other threats, the Mexican government was allowing colonization. And let me tell you, Texas, as I wrote to my daughter, was the garden spot of the world. And anybody could come down here, and if they had the gumption, they could make themselves a fine line, make a fortune. That's why I come to Texas. I didn't come down here to fight. Let me make that perfectly clear. Fighting was not my original purpose. I came down here to see if I could build up a career for myself so I could have a good life for my family. Now, to do so, I had to take an oath of allegiance to the government, because I did plan that when they were rumoring statehood for Texas, I was going to try to inch my way into the Texas government, be a member, hopefully someday even be president of Texas. However, to become active in the state, you had to sign up for a 6-month enlistment in the Army of Texas as a volunteer. So I did, and the men that came with me, we did. Now, We had all thought, though, that all the fighting had been over with, because prior to me coming to Texas, the General Martin Perfecto de Cause, rumored to be the brother-in-law of Santa Anna, was kicked out of San Antonio. He hadn't been in the Alamo, and he kicked him out. And so we went down there, and I thought, well, I'll go down there for a while and stake my claim on Texas. I had no idea that Santa Anna had planned a forced march back into Texas to avenge his loss. And that's why I wound up in the Alamo.
Ashling wants to know, do you regret serving?
I regret not being able to live much longer. You know, over the years, when the legends were brought up, what it said about me ultimately was, I did stay there, and I did help. My whole life, I lived by my own motto, be sure you're right, then always go ahead. I could have got out if I wanted to, but I stayed. So I don't regret helping the folks that I helped. And I don't regret that it made my legend even more famous. Of course, I wasn't around to see it. But I don't regret serving, per se, because it helped folks, it inspired folks, and it made me a legend.
All right, one last question. And it's probably a good one to sum everything up. Cash wants to know, are you a good guy?
Am I a good guy? I've always tried to be a good man. I've never tried to cheat nobody, swindle nobody. I've always tried to, mostly tell the truth, with the exception of a few yarns I tell about myself. I always tried to stand up for what was right. That's why I fought against Andy Hickory-Face Jackson and lost. I would say, I hope that I was a good guy. I tried to be a good man. That's about all I can say, really.
Well, thank you, Colonel Crockett. Are there any last things you'd like to tell the kids before we say goodbye?
Try to do what's right. And when you know you're right, then go ahead. And be careful about what folks say about you, good or bad, because either way you get into a lot of trouble. But whatever you do, keep the faith, hold on to hope, and always go ahead. Take care now. God bless you.